You're listening to Cards to the Moon, a podcast about trading cards from both a collector and investor perspective. We hope you'll stick around for the ride as we take a deep dive into the state of the hobby, share some hot takes, hopefully some useful advice, and fun stories along the way. Hey all, welcome to Cards to the Moon. This is episode 159 and my name is Clark from 5 Card Guys on Instagram and 5cardguys.com. Co-hosting with me as usual is Hyung of Integrity Sports Cards and John, who is Trade You at Recess. All right, it's September already, which means the beginning of football season, of course, and baseball playoffs are just around the corner. But loyal podcast listeners will know that it's also the halfway mark of our fantasy sports card draft we had back in May, end of May, early June, where we each drafted 5 players across multiple sports, and then we were going to see which one of our teams would provide the best ROI in value based on the card ladder index data. Okay, so off the top, I thought I'd give our listeners a quick 3-month update on how our teams are doing. All right, so John, I think you had pick number 1, right? So I'll revisit the draft day results. You drafted Jackie Robinson, Tiger Woods, Patrick Mahomes, Luka Doncic, and LeBron James. All right. And at the end of July, your team or portfolio of cards lost 6.82% of value. Okay. And predominantly it was because of LeBron James value just kind of started tanking over the last 3 months.
He's getting me good.
all that crap talking that you had for LeBron. Yeah.
All that hate that you had for LeBron is just
man.
There's justice in this world. But your team is now down negative 12.72%. And again, the reason LeBron's value is down almost 32% since June. And Jackie Robinson, surprisingly, is down almost 13%.
Wow.
And up until that time, all our vintage cards were like 0, 1, plus minus 1. Like it's been steady. But the trend lately, we've been even seeing vintage cards drop in value. And I think that's playing itself out. So with those 2 players with that double-digit loss, you're averaging minus 12.72%. All right. Hyung, your team consisted of Lionel Messi, Mike Trout, Stephen Curry, Tom Brady, and Wayne Gretzky. All right. And your team is now down minus 17.63%.
Jeez.
So it's still this negative trend. And the main 2 reasons why it's down is Tom Brady's down minus 36%.
Jeez.
Yeah, since we started the draft. And Mike Trout is down minus 13%. So I think it was similar to last month. Brady and Trout was dragging your team down. It's just more so this month. It would have been far worse if it wasn't for Lionel Messi. He's plus 25%.
Oh, right. Nice.
Yeah, which was to be expected with the hype he's getting in Miami, right? So you're saved because of Lionel Messi from going any more negative. And my team consisted of Mickey Mantle, Babe Ruth, Shohei Ohtani, Michael Jordan, and Kobe Bryant. And last month I was up almost 7%. This month I'm up 1.72%. So I dropped as well. I'm staying above 0 barely, but the main reason you guys can guess is because Shohei's value is up 40% since June.
Still.
So thank you, Shohei, for lifting my team and carrying my team on his shoulders. I love it. He's even carrying my team in spite of Mickey Mantle's values dropping 12.83%, surprisingly, and Babe Ruth minus 6.4%. So, and then you know what? The other guys, Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, are also positive. So Jordan is up 5.35%, and Kobe's up 1.65%.
No way.
So, moral of the story, you invest in cards, they will drop in value.
Unless you bought Shohei cards this year.
Right.
Just for this year, right. All right, I'm looking good for that hobby box price. I think we upped the ante, right? So
it's the end of the year, bro. Yeah. There's still a lot of time.
Yeah. Football season just started, so it could be
Shohei's 900% growth will come down in the off season.
I just need Shohei to just hang on till the end of December. That's all I need. All right, so yeah, that's kind of a fun thing that we've been doing, and we'll update you guys in a month or so. All right, let's move on to our regular weekly segment we call Hobby Headlines. So for this week, I thought that we can go over some of the announcements that some of the graders have been making recently. And I think a couple of days ago even, or might have even been yesterday, SGC made a pretty big announcement, and we'll talk about that. And PSA also recently tweeted about a new feature they had on their app. So I thought we could go over some of those announcements and kind of grade the graders based on how impressed or not impressed we are of what they recently announced. All right, so let's just start with SGC, who just released their app. I don't know if you downloaded it yet. I did, and I was kind of messing around with it. It looks clean. But they also announced that they were lowering their grading fees for all sports and non-sports card submissions to $15 per card. And there's no minimum or maximum quantities of cards that's needed to achieve that pricing. And they say there's no other hidden stipulations. On top of that, SGC also said their new immediate service with a 1 to 2 business day turnaround time is just $40 per card. I think that's down from $125 per card. So what do you think of the SGC news?
I like it. I like that there's options, that they're doing something proactive to kind of counter the market, because I think people are grading less and less. So they're approaching it from a whole different standpoint, which I like. I like the offer of $40 for a 1 to 2 business day turnaround. That just tells me that they figured out internally how to, scale upwards with a lot of cards, right? So they're pushing sheer volume, and they have been doing well in terms of the market space. Like before we were talking about SGC, it's like, hey, can they take over Beckett? And they that happened so quick. You know what I mean? And SGC's been doing a great job, and stuff like having the app, stuff like that, where it's being proactive with kind of like making the end consumer's job easier to submit, to making it more affordable, so that they're doing it in conjunction with releases, where they're doing specials with their top Chrome specials and stuff like that. I think you need to continually do that, and it helps that relationship with the customer. So yeah, I'm happy with all the moves SGC's making. They're making the right moves. I'm not a huge fan of their slabs, but I do have a bunch because I'm a customer of theirs. Because if you do want to sell some stuff up or sell some stuff off, it's a very good option to if you get a 10, it's going to command a little more value than you would have sold raw. So there's still upside into that game.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely big news. It's a good thing. Certainly music to the ears of those trying to make money in the hobby. I think right now, just where we are in the market, it's difficult, right? Like I don't think people are at all really like, other than maybe like Bowman first, like that initial flip of a prospect. It's really difficult to come out making profit, right? And I think, I don't know, what were they at before? $30 and then dropping to 15?
Something like that.
Yeah. So like in terms of your margins, like for like that sort of base, silver refractor level submission and turning a quick profit, like that game is back for a lot of people, right? Like you could, you pull a refractor, you submit it $15, and even if you were to sell it for $30, like that's a good flip, right? So I think that quick flipping game is back for a lot of people, and I think that's big. So it's a good thing. I think we probably expected this from HSC. Like they were kind of testing. You can tell they were testing the waters with like the Bowman special and then the top special. And, you know, you had to imagine, I mean, the two companies that scaled the most was PSA and SGC. Like they went from, you know, we could probably guess like SGC went from 20 employees. So I don't know, like 150 employees, and they have all these people in the back that have the capacity to start grading. And they finally figured out, okay, I think we can handle a certain quantity, based on a price point, and they're clearly ready for it. So yeah, it's big. But you know, my one thing is, in terms of the hobby and like brand value and looking at, you know, as a collector, like how much is my card worth in a PSA slab? How much is my card worth in a BGS slab? Like ultimately that's, if you're not a part of that quick flipping game, if you want like long-term value, how much is SGC gaining there? And I'm not quite convinced of that. So I think they're going to make good money, but SGC is going to continually capture low-end cards for the most part, right? If you have a banging like big card, like you bet your ass you're gonna spend the extra money and send it to PSA, probably, I'm guessing, right? So they're still SGC is still gonna be part of that lower level. You know, the most of the cards you're gonna see in SGC are gonna be certainly under $1,000. So in terms of their sort of brand power, I'm not sure if they're, you know, and maybe that's not their focus. So like, you know, this is not a criticism, but I'm just speaking as a collector. Yeah. They're in terms of like brand power, I don't think there's going to be too much movement, but yeah, they're certainly going to make good money, I'd assume.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I was going to say that precise thing, that I was wondering if SGC is kind of just satisfied with that niche of low to mid end cards, right? Because, you know, Five Card Guys, like I post daily auctions every day, you know, fivecardguys.com/daily auctions. And most of them are more high end. And most of them, I would say about 70-80%, I find that I post on a daily basis are PSA slabbed cards, unsurprisingly, then BGS. And then, you know, if I look for one that's in an SGC slab, it's maybe just over 1,000 or 2,000 on a good day, where you see a SGC slab card worth that much. Right. Like it doesn't even compete against high-end cards with PSA slabbed and BGS slabbed even. So yeah, to your point, I think you're absolutely right. Maybe it's catering to a certain group, but I don't know. I don't know if that's. I think the good thing is, which I liked, is that, you know, they're really pushing the boundaries. Like even if they're not going to compete directly against PSA, like them having an app now, maybe that makes PSA try to improve their app. You know, like even a little bit of competition might be helpful to get better service from other competitors. I'm hoping that's the case, because I don't see PSA coming down to offering $15 per card anytime soon, right? Because they don't need to, you know, just because of their brand recognition right now. So yeah, that's what I think about SGC. But overall, good news for a good chunk of collectors out there, I'm sure. Okay, let's talk about PSA. They also launched their apps, I think, a few months ago, and one cool feature, I don't know if you saw it already, is that you can now check your grades online with their special reveal feature. It's kind of gimmicky, but cool at the same time, where you could flip a digital picture of your card, and then you could see what grade you got. So and more recently, actually, as soon as you see the grade of the card online, with a click of a button, you can decide to either ship that card to their vault. They have a vaulting service, right? You could also list it on Golden for auction, who they have a partnership with, or you could just ship the card back to you at home. So it's pretty easy to use all through their app. What do you guys think about that PSA feature?
I think it's great. I think PSA needs to be proactive with that. Like SGC's been, you know, making the moves, and PSA kind of just flexed their muscle for the last year. So it's good to see kind of like they're actually doing something that, you know, is beneficial, and, you know, people want more value for what they're paying for, right? So they're going to notice, I think, a hit in grading as well. Like the quantities are just, I think, down in general for grading, because it's just not worth it to dump more money into cards when it's a bear market. Like you've seen our our draft pick status. Those are the GOATs. We're talking, we haven't even done anything. We're just sitting on these GOATs and they're just losing money over time. So I think, it's just, it's not the same as it was before. So being innovative and being there for the right reasons, I think is key for their brand. They're obviously number one in grading, and rightfully so. They've done everything right in terms of, marketing and branding their product, except for actually grading proper cards. But that's a whole different story.
There's Hyung needs to get that dig in.
Everybody is dogging BGS for that. That 9.5, that was a PSA 6. But to me, it's such an easy question. That PSA 6 wasn't obviously a PSA 6. It was like, it had nothing to do with BGS. Everybody's like, oh, BGS is so messed up. No, I think it's PSA. Trust me. I had a couple of those PSA 6s too. You crack them and then I get a 9.5. Right?
Right.
So, but I always have a love-hate with PSA. I hope they're listening, I hope they're listening.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think the app's great. Well, I don't know. I haven't tried it out. Maybe it isn't great, but the concept and the idea I think is fine, and it's really it's about damn time,
right?
Because they've been profiting from the hobby hand over fist and not innovating at all, right? So it's finally good to see. And it's the hobbies. It's because of the hobby, it's gotten stale, and I'm sure they're not profiting as much hand over fist, and it forces their hand to try and innovate, right? So it's finally good to see them moving in that direction, providing more value, without just through pricing, right? So,
right.
And going back to the SGC thing, I think that it's a great thing for the hobby for them to have a lower price point, because at some point, do I think PSA is going to follow suit? You were kind of saying maybe not. I actually think they probably will, because they have how many hundreds of employees sitting there, and I think at some point they're going to need to capture volume more than anything, for their sake as a company. So I think it is a good thing. I think the price point of SGC lowering is going to force PSA's hand a bit at some point, and that just is greater overall for the whole hobby, right? We're getting back to grading $10, $15, $20 cards. I mean fees. That's what you want to see. So it's good overall.
Yeah. No, I like any kind of forward movement with technology, so I'm not going to argue against what PSA has done through their app. How much is their grading nowadays? Is it like $75 per card? Is that the level where it's at?
PSA?
Yeah.
Isn't that like
for their standard?
40?
Oh, is it 40? Okay. So
35 or something? Yeah, I think it's something around that mark. I could be wrong.
Okay, so it's not that bad. All right, so yeah, well, I totally agree with you, John. I think it's about time that PSA does lead in this category, because they are the leader, and we've seen what happens with leaders that in any category, in any industry, that just kind of rest on their laurels for too long, i.e. Beckett. So they're the case in point. So actually that's a great segue, because I promise I'm not trying to troll BGS. I love Beckett, but for this segment, I was trying to look up on their website and on their socials to see if they were offering anything new, and the only thing I found was that they have a September promotion going on now, which is 50% off authentication and encapsulation fees for all football autographs. Just in time for football season, but it's pretty underwhelming. You know what I mean? So listen, listen to that last Tuesday episode where Hyung and I came up with a bunch of ideas for Beckett.
I just listened to it. How sad I missed that. I want to be a part of the trolling.
Yeah, we listed some ideas if we ran Beckett, what we would do, and hopefully people from Beckett are listening to this episode too. Let's get all the graders listening to this episode. I'll send it to them, and then we'll hopefully start a movement somehow. Anything about that? I feel like we're all in the same boat.
Yeah.
underwhelming.
Yeah, it's
They need to do
it's
more.
kind of sad, like that. At this point that's they got to make some major moves. There's a part of me that feels bad for Beckett because like on the one hand I feel like, oh, they really missed the mark, didn't do anything, rested on their laurels, were lazy. You could spew off a bunch of words, and then we don't actually know what's going on in the back end. Like it could be the VP of marketing and one grader, and they're just stuck because they can't take volume. They can't put any promo out there because they literally can't handle more than 20 card submissions at a time. I don't know. Like we don't know what the heck is going on in the background.
Right.
So I feel bad if it really is like the team went from 100 employees down to 5 employees. Like what are they supposed to do at this point? They got no money. Maybe they got no investment coming in. They're just stuck. Like they're just stuck in a completely sad state. So I don't know what's going on in the back end. So I do have a bit of empathy for them, as much as we troll and make fun and completely criticize. But yeah, they're in a tough spot. But I hope that they're able to gain resources both in human form and capital form, because they, like you guys were mentioning, they have the brand. They still have the brand power. Like it's still there. There's monster cards encapsulated in BGS, and we still view BGS like, as much as people say SGC took over the number 2 spot. Yeah, maybe in volume and money and stuff like that, but in terms of how we view our big boy cards and slabs, I still think BGS number 2. Like they still have that. They're like, they've fallen ass backwards. They still have it. They're so lucky they still have that. So I think they have an opportunity to make some moves. Let's just hope they have the resources to do it.
Yeah, let's hope. I feel like he's just a nice guy, Beckett, come on. Business is business. It's a dog-eat-dog world, No empathy for me, but but I still love Beckett. So I'm not hoping for their demise, that's for sure. But they need to do something. All right. Okay, that's all I got. You know what? It's my bad. I don't know CGC that well, but maybe we'll devote a Friday episode to CGC once I do some more research, because I know they're gaining in market share too, right? They're in the top 4 for sure. So
we got to buy a slab first, though.
All right.
Oh, yeah, I heard great things about their slabs.
Yeah, that's a good starting point. Okay, let's move on to a brand new segment called Just a Thought. Now, this is where I thought we could brainstorm ideas to make the hobby better or just more fun in general, okay? And these ideas don't have to be fully thought out. It can even sound ridiculous, but I think everything starts with an idea, right? Which can be workshopped, it can be elaborated on, and perhaps over time it'll be the next big thing, okay? So to kick off this segment, I came up with 3 ideas. Maybe in the future, kind of like our pick one, we can all kind of come up with ideas to improve the hobby, however silly it might sound. But to kick off this segment, I came up with 3 ideas myself, and I want to get your feedback, all right? And you could be brutally honest. If you think, the idea is good, but not great, but you can add to it, let's hear it. Or if you think it's just a dumb idea, then that's okay too, all right? Okay. So you'll kind of get the gist of how silly this segment could be. Number 1. Okay, let's think about taking a top certified autograph card, okay? Right? Like the ones that you pull out of packs. I think we talked about this before. And then you get that card autographed in person to make it a dual auto card from the same player. Okay? So I think, we could double the value right there. It could become a thing. If enough collectors like, this is cool, right? Double. You got the first Bowman Chrome auto, and then you're like, you know what? I'm gonna go to a game, get it signed by that same player, and then get it authenticated as a dual auto, 10-10.
So they would have 2 autos on the card,
or you can go front and back.
Sure, one in-person auto and one top certified.
It's so funny. I was just at my daughter's softball game tonight, and our buddy Abe was in our chat. And he was like looking at Vladdy cards, and it was a Topps Chrome Auto Vladdy, and it had PSA DNA, right?
Okay, yeah.
which was probably incorrect because it's a top certified autograph, right? So I told him, he's like, what's the difference? Like, what does that mean? And I said, oh, that the PSA DNA means an authenticator, like you got a in-person auto and they authenticated the auto. So I think that that label's a mistake because that's a Topps Chrome auto. Like it's his rookie Topps Chrome auto. So then we were just literally tonight, we're just joking about how you can get Vladdy's auto on a certified auto, have the dual auto, and then get a PSA. And we just had like this like big chuckle about it. So it's pretty funny.
See, I think it's already catching on. Hyung's making this weird face. He's not.
No,
funny,
I'm just checking. No, they do. Anytime the PSA DNA authentication takes place is anytime there is an auto. So even top certified autos, they'll do it, and IP autos as well.
Okay.
So they're just the company that authenticates both, or just the autos in general.
Right. Based on if you ask them to do it or not.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But I'm not sold on that idea, Clark.
Just an idea, just a thought. That's what the segment's called. Just a thought.
Maybe you don't get the card with the auto, and then you go and go in person to get it signed.
So that's so boring. That's like just a regular IP auto.
You have, but it's the top certified auto. But this was your idea. I'm just trying to make your idea better.
You know how like
that's
back in the
that's fair.
You know how back in the junk wax era, people had the opinion that if you get an autograph on a card, it ruins the integrity. I think this is the scenario where it would ruin the card.
I'm saying I want to start a movement where it doubles the value.
It doubles the value. Okay.
Double the auto.
I'm for it if the autograph card is the stupid sticker.
Right.
So you get an in-person auto over the stupid sticker. I'm for that.
Okay, that's a variation of this idea. All right, we could workshop it a little bit more off air. I like it. Okay, here's my second idea. All right, dual relic cards with intention. Okay, so what I mean by that is, for example, I got this from the Ellie De La Cruz. Remember when he stole those 3 bases? So picture a player, he steals a base, and he dives into the base, gets his uniform dirty. Well, you get a patch of that dirt stained uniform, which would be cool, right? As one relic of that card. And then the second relic could be the dirt from the infield from that stadium.
Okay. On the card? Like in like a plastic or like
exactly. Right beside the dirt stained uniform.
Interesting. Yeah, I think that would be a cool collectible piece. Like I think that can work. It's better than what we're getting, like because it's material patch. Nobody wants a material patch.
Yeah, even if it's like the quad auto or the quad relics, they're just like 4 different pieces of the uniform. Like there's got to be intention behind it. This is how my idea is like how we revive the value and coolness of relic cards.
Well, I think Fanatics could play a big role in that. I think that's where their strength plays in, right? Topps really didn't have that access. So I'm expecting Fanatics to step up their patch and make patches cool again. Yeah. Right?
You know what? I think there's legs to that because like who was it that got into a fight recently? Was it Ramirez and Tim Anderson or whatever? Who was it again?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Jose Ramirez
and Tim Anderson. Imagine you have a card with the fight and then it's a game used batting glove from Ramirez from the fight with a game used Tim Anderson batting glove.
I'm in.
I'd be all over that. That'd be sick.
Yeah, exactly. That'd be worth. Yeah. See, I like it. This is.
Yeah.
I love this segment already.
There's some legs.
Yeah. Perfect. I'm gonna clip this for our social media. I think people will love that idea, especially with the Ramirez and Anderson. I love it. Okay, here's my. I saved the best for last for this segment. Okay, I got this idea. Remember, Topps had a home run challenge. I think they might still have a home run challenge. Do you know that? Where it's a card that you get in the packs, and whoever the player is, you got to choose what date you think they might hit a home run, and if they hit a home run that day, you get a numbered card. Whoever also guessed on that day, right? So I actually won once with Nelson Cruz. I got a Topps Nelson Cruz home run challenge card. It wasn't autographed; it was just numbered to I think 70 something. Like 70 of us got
whoever got it right.
Yeah. So it's limited, and I thought that was cool. So I'm going to take it a step further, okay? So Topps should, or any card manufacturer, they insert like a bingo card in each pack. All right. So like a 5x5, like a regular bingo card, but instead of like letters and numbers, each one is like like some kind of achievement by a player. All right. So for example, the center spot could be a player who hits more than 40 home runs, right? And another square could be a starting pitcher who has an ERA under 3, and another one could be a player who stole 30 plus bases. Okay, and then you look at the cards, and then you get the base cards of whatever that bingo card says. So for that center spot example of someone that hits more than 40 home runs, if you have a Pete Alonso or Shohei Ohtani base card, right, that will fill that square. And then you have to fill a line like a regular bingo game. So you could send 5 base cards back to Tops, and then you could get like a special limited edition pack from them, or a different prize.
A game within the game.
Game within the game. You don't waste all those base cards. You get the base card. Utilize it. You don't have to throw them away. Game within the game. Yeah, I like that.
So you're basically targeting the experience per se, like because it's all experience based. Off like whether it's patches, it's like the user experience needs to be improved in that sense, and. Yeah, I agree. I think the user experience needs a lot of work, and I think that's what retains the card market for sure. I would add, like, in that user experience, why doesn't they did I thought the MVP buyback is genius. I think that gives more value. They don't have to dump any more money, but they could also, because they're doing it's a chase. People rip because it's a chase. They could add stuff like what Panini used to do with the redemption points, right? Where it could be, Fanatics or Tops dollars, and you could pull like $100, Tops dollar that, otherwise you wouldn't have gotten, right? That you could redeem back into kind of like a credit on Tops.com. You could buy a new release. It basically encourages you to spend more money, right? So stuff like that where it targets the user experience. But I don't know if you're just going user experience or just hobby in general, like for this whole thing. Because I have one that's hobby general.
Okay, let's hear it.
So, what was the question? First of all, how did we get here? What was this whole thing again? It's like
I just want you to.
It was content.
What's this?
Was it based on content or like based on like new ideas that the hobby should?
Yeah, it's so general. Just a thought.
General. Okay, just a thought.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a thought. Somebody should make something called like Raz City. So it's like the Vegas of razzing cards. So breaks, razzes. So I could go on a website, list the card that I don't want to sell, but it's an open Raz. It protects buyers and sellers. You list it, and it could be razzed. And it's done in a more user-friendly way where it's like, there's like 1,000 different, razzes going on. You're like, no, I don't want this card. I go into this card. You're like entering like a store or whatever, and they have their own kind of like razzes that they put up every day. And you could just basically join these, and then there's multiple games. Maybe there's like a wheel spin. It's like an online Vegas called Raz City. I don't know. I thought that was something I would do. I was because I like ripping and joining Razzes sometimes. So it's
I like
something that it's like you only see it on Facebook, right? So how about up that experience where it's an adult Vegas?
I like that. I question whether you have to get around the whole gambling restrictions and things like that. How is that legal on Facebook? Is it legal?
It's probably not, but it's done, right? I remember they had to rename it. Right. But then that has to do with PayPal and taxes and stuff like that. So I think anything goes nowadays. Sure. I think we're good until it gets shut down.
I feel like there's some nice mix between the two of you guys, because like I'm not really for the bingo idea, because like the meme says, ain't nobody got time for that. But I like, Clark, I like your idea of kind of piggybacking off of the MVP buyback, like having some sort of utility for all of these base cards, especially for kids. Like that's such a fun idea.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think, the Raz idea is cool too, but I don't like the encouraging gambling aspect. So if we can kind of marry utility of crappy base cards as a way of using it as ballots or points or credit towards Razes for something, right? So like, let's say that week, Aaron Judge hits 5 homers and Topps decides we're going to do this crazy Raz for Aaron Judge's Topps Chrome Sapphire PSA 10. Everyone who's got Aaron Judge base cards, like you can submit it through the online website or something, some sort of quick digital way to submit your base cards. And then you can be entered into the Raz to win that card. I think there could be some opportunity between the two ideas that you guys had.
Yeah, and you know what? As you were talking, it's kind of like you could even marry like what they do for Topps Now, right? It's like this print on demand, right? You don't call it Topps Now because we all agree that the branding is weak there. But just say, Acuna, he just did the 3060 club, right? And if you have an Acuna base, you could send that in, and then they could print a specially limited card.
Oh yeah, that sounds great.
A week,
yeah,
right. Make it a cool card, and then you could essentially exchange your base for this Topps Now concept print on demand card.
Oh, that sounds good.
Way better than your base.
Yes, I like that.
There you go.
Boom.
This is why I love this segment. We just work it out and come up with something even better.
Guys, it's just a thought.
It's just a thought until Topps listens to us and does it, right?
And then rips off the idea, and yeah.
This is my application or my part of my resume to work at Topps Canada. So I have a lot of them. We'll bring back this segment, and the next time I'll give you guys a heads up, and then we'll all think of one to bring to the table, and then we'll just critique it, and then one of these ideas can blow up. I really believe that. I think we're full of good ideas.
I need backers for Raz City, guys. I need backers, 10 backers. Let's go.
Hyung will be working on Raz City. If you ever hear Raz City, it was Hyung's idea. Episode 159 of Cards to the Moon. This is where it originated.
Time stamp it.
All right. With that, let's end off this show with our regular weekly segment we call Pick One. And this is where each of us will put up a couple cards, and then we debate which one we would rather invest in. All right. So, Hyung, do you have one to start off with?
Yes, sir. We're going with the 2 young bucks that got called up to the big leagues this past week. So Jasson Dominguez, one of them.
Oh, yes.
And just yesterday or the day before yesterday, Jordan Lawlare.
Wow,
which is massive. He got his first hit actually today, I believe. He got a single, I believe. But, Jordan Lawlare, obviously, he plays for a weaker team in Arizona versus the New York Yankees with Dominguez. But Lawlare was a big-time prospect. He's high hopes, has the A-Rod type play, the speed, the lankiness, the power. Could be a 40 home run guy in the big leagues, but plays for Arizona. So recently, his prices are going up. Obviously, same with Dominguez has gone up a lot because Dominguez is actually raking right now. He has 3 home runs, but I still think Dominguez is overpriced. Ever since we got into the hobby, he was a chase. We've seen what happened with Bobby Witt. With the inconsistencies there, and Bobby Witt's killing it now, but you can't even recover. So these are all inflated prices, and I'm very aware of that, but that's why I'm making you guys choose. If you're to purchase one right now, we got a base Bowman Chrome, okay? A base Bowman Chrome Jasson Dominguez, PSA 10. So his comes from 2020 Bowman. Let me just pull this up. I forgot what it sold for. So I don't know the pop count, but it's last sold for $11.75, a PSA 10, a base Chrome. Would you rather get that, or would
Autograph?
you autograph? Yeah, this is base auto.
Okay.
These are both autos. Bowman Chrome first, or would you go 2021 Bowman Chrome first auto, Aqua Lava Refractor of Jordan Lawlare? So out of 199, a PSA 10 sold for $10.25 last. So would you purchase the Aqua Wave PSA 10 for $10.25, or would you go base auto of Jasson Dominguez for $11.75? They're both PSA 10s.
Does Jordan Lawlare mash?
He does.
He does.
He's 21 years old right now.
Right.
Dominguez is 20. Lawlare, I think, had 21 home runs in AAA before he got called. He was breaking, in AA, and then he got called up a brief. He tore up AAA for a bit, and then he got called up because he was hot, similar to Dominguez. But he's probably number 3, or he's top 5 prospect, I think, in the top 100.
I think I agree with you that Dominguez's hype hasn't completely cooled down, so his cards are still, you could consider it overpriced. I agree with you there. It is tempting though, because like the whole, chicks dig the long ball. I think Dominguez has the chance to have very volatile pricing, so you could really maybe profit. But I think in this situation, I'm going to go a little bit safe. I think everything I've heard from Hyung, you, and other things I read on, Jordan Lawlare seems every bit like a legitimate prospect, whereas Jasson Dominguez, I think there was a little bit more hype to him being a actual legit prospect. I think just because of his size and his just, outworldly beast nature. So I'm going to pick the actual scouting of Jordan Lawlare, and I think the pricing is not as hyped. So I think I'm going Lawlare.
Oh, nice. Interesting. I don't have I don't hate base autos like you guys do. When it comes to for Bowman Chrome, especially.
Oh, I forgot to mention that too. Yeah.
And, like Aqua. Come on.
I know.
It's it's a made up $199. I can't buy into it. So I'm all in on the Martian. All in. I'm back in. After he hit that. What did Lawlare just got his first hit? Yeah. Dominguez got his first home run on his first hit against Justin Verlander.
He has 3.
He
has
already.
3 home runs. But hear this: Dominguez this is surprising. He's number 75 in the top 100 list, which is insane. Jordan Lawlare is 10.
Yeah, plays for Arizona. I like the Yankees uniform better. That's personal opinion.
Fair enough. I thought you would pick the base auto anyways, because that's why I picked the Aqua Lava. I was gonna pick like a blue, and I was like, I'm gonna go with a non-desired. But I'm actually gonna go Jordan Lawlare. I just think Dominguez's price is, he can't keep that up no matter how well he does. Like, you look at every 20-year-old, even Acuna, he had his ups and downs throughout the season, and his base auto is now just cruising into that. I think last week we said it was like down to like $12.50 for a BGS 9.5. So for me, it's like Dominguez was so high at one point that it wasn't sustainable. Similar to kind of like what happened with Bobby Witt. So it's like the moment Dominguez doesn't do well in the big leagues, his prices are tanking. Whereas Lawlare's prices are kind of like, they're not astronomical yet. I think it will happen if Lawlare starts going crazy and has a playoff run too, because Arizona's pretty decent this year. Like, I think Lawlare's prices may go there and then just tank again. They're both going to tank during their career. There's no way the prices are sustainable. But for me, a colored auto PSA 10, of a top 10 prospect, MLB prospect is a decent buy. I think he's still cheap because he started really slow, so his prices I don't think exploded like they were supposed to. So yeah, I'm gonna go Jordan Lawlare with that. Okay,
I think you guys are missing this the element of like him playing with Judge. This marketing hype of Bash Brothers 2.0. If Judge, he'll keep mashing, and then Dominguez, if he hits the home runs, in Yankees, like, if that narrative takes over,
that's a point. That's a good point.
I'm just scared that Dominguez might hit like 200 in the big leagues, and then it's like, then what? It's happened to Bobby. It's happened to Julio. And they obviously picked it up, but their prices can't recover. Julio and Bobby Witt are absolutely demolishing now, and because it's where the hype is during the spring training. That's the initial hype, right? And I feel like it never caught fire again. Like even Bobby Witt, like he's going to pull off a 30-30 season. He's 2 home runs away. Julio's doing crazy thing. You look at his numbers, it's like his numbers are better than last year's now, right? And this is a guy who started really, really slow. So I think Dominguez falls into that category where I think he's gonna struggle a bit. Same with Lawlare. I think both of them are. It's not realistic to expect Acuna type results, right?
Yeah. You know what? This will be a good episode topic for like next spring training, where we get hyped up for the prospects again before baseball season starts.
Yeah,
and just to see this pattern, like it's the only chance to make money off baseball prospects right before they get called up, essentially. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And once they do, it's like
I find there's like two waves. It's like that, and then stuff like Corbin Carroll, for instance. He didn't really get the hype at the big leagues, but then he started tearing it up, and then he exploded. But then guys that make the major leagues and then just tank. That's the common type, like Anthony Volpe, for instance, right? Where he didn't hold his own, where Corbin Carroll held his own, right? And then Volpe is similar like Bobby Witt, but Bobby Witt had a way better season last year than Volpe, right? So
true. Yeah. No, that's interesting. All right, good one, John. You got one?
Yep. So I'm gonna revisit a 1v1 that I've done before.
Okay.
And I want to see if I can finally convince you guys of coming to my side. And I had mentioned this particular point guard is better than the latter, which was a bit of an unpopular opinion back in the day. This is probably when we first started our podcast. Right. So we're going, and there's no particular card. We're just going straight player investment. Mm-hmm. Our boy SGA has been clearly balling out for Team Canada. So we're going SGA, and I think you guys know where this is going, versus Trae Young.
Oh man.
Oh, man.
You can go ahead on that.
Sure. I am going on Johnny's side. SGA.
Yes.
Wow.
Like, I don't know what, like, I was a huge Trae Young supporter, and all I've, ever since I bought his Silver Prisms PSA 9, I upgraded to the PSA 10. All I've been doing with Trae Young is losing money left, right, and center. And it's more than that, like, just no love in the hobby for Trae Young. Like, it is unbelievable, and I don't know what it's going to take other than winning a championship and
maybe
being
a haircut.
MVP talks.
How are prices for both? Do you know, John?
I'm not sure. I have to assume there's probably a little bit of a bump on SGA, like probably a small. And
but his prices were so low at
they were super low. Yeah, Shai was super low, but I'm sure it's recovered a little bit, and I'm gonna have to assume Trae Young is, he's as low as it gets for Trae Young cards.
Right. This is a tough one.
If you use SGA Silver Prism PSA 10 as a gauge, he's at $470 right now
for SGA.
Yes.
Shai? And then do you have Trae's really quick?
Yep. Trae Young is a PSA 10 180.
Oh
wow!
For silver,
180 for silver PSA 10.
But Shai's silver is way more rare.
Yes, Shai's silver pop counts
Disclaimer.
576. That's right. For
And
some reason,
Trae's
it's
probably
tough
like
grade.
2,000, right?
Over 2,000, yeah, 2,300.
Yeah, because of that, I think I'm gonna go SGA too. Although his prices are a lot higher than what they were a year ago. Yeah. But it's tough because, you just hope that what's called Oklahoma City shows a little, fight this coming season, and, he gets the love he deserves, right? So And that's part of the struggle, I think, with Trae's pricing is, Atlanta was supposed to be that team maybe above 500, and they really can't. They're not above 500 team that was expected with Trae Young and the younger class coming in, right? So I gave up on Trae. I had high expectations based on, that 2018 set because of Luka, but that whole set scares me because of the supply demand, right? And that was the era where they started printing a lot more, and I just like the low pop count on SGA for sure.
Yep. I think it's finally time for people to wake up and recognize how good this guy is. And maybe I'm wearing my Team Canada goggles, but I've been watching OKC for a while because I'm such a big Shai fan, and man, he is, I honestly believe he's one of the big superstars in the league. Like, I don't know, he could move into the top 10. I think he has opportunity to maybe get an MVP conversation this year. He has that kind of ability. So I think it's finally people are going to this year recognize. And I mean, they almost made the play in last year, right? So I think you don't sleep on OKC. With Chet coming back, they could make a real, playoff appearance, right? So, yeah, it's time for people to recognize him as a top superstar in the league.
John's been waiting for over 2 years to bring this back on the pod.
Yes.
And he sold all his Shai at low.
Oh, but you know what? I'm convinced. I kind of want a Shai rookie auto card. I might look for one before the season starts. It'll be fun to root for OKC. All right, let's end off with my pick one, and I think it's I'm revisiting a pick one too, and it's because I recently put out on Five Card Guys Instagram reel about the Derek Jeter SP foil card, right? Just how a difference in grade from PSA 10 to PSA 9 is a huge value, and it has a lot to do with pop count. There's 21 PSA 10s compared to 621 PSA 9s. But I'm not going to compare those two. I'm going to compare the PSA 9 to the BGS 9.5, okay? Because they're relative in value. BGS 9.5 last sold for almost $4,500, and the PSA 9 last sold for $4,800.
Ooh. I'm going 9.5, man.
Min Gem.
Min Gem still.
Okay.
I've had a history with this card. I had a really nice BGS 9 that where the subgrades were 9.5, 9.5, 9, and 9. And there was a massive price difference at the time. It was like 2,500 versus 12,000 maybe.
Wow.
But then people are like, don't do it. That's one card you never try crossing over. You never try resubmitting. You will always get downgraded. Always. No matter how good the card looks, that card is the pop count staying what it is.
Right.
But PSA 9s were highly desired too. I'll tell you that with Jeter. That's a big time card. Everybody wants the BGS 9 to PSA 9 bump, but that's a tough. You're not going to get that either. Maybe a 9.5 may cross over to a 9, but you're even rolling the dice there. But I think BGS 9.5 overall, based on kind of like, the previous market and where it was, I think the value is in BGS if you're going face-to-face value at $4,500. So I'm going to go BGS 9.5.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an easy one. It's definitely BGS 9.5. And I wanted to touch on like the Derek Jeter that card is definitely on that scale of like Mickey Mantle, Wayne Gretzky, OPG.
Right. Iconic.
Like it's just so well known that there's a low pop that in order for you to try and achieve a PSA 10, it pretty much has to be like a black label at that point for it to cross over, because it's going to be so heavily scrutinized and graded. They're going to have all their top, they're going to have like their top 10 graders looking at the exact same card to double, triple, quadruple check that it's a PSA 10.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just one of those cards that you don't mess with anymore. Like it is what it is. The pop count at PSA 10 at 21 or whatever it is, it's going to stay like that for the rest of history. Just like the Gretzky OPG is going to be at like a pop count of 2 and yada. Yeah, I know. But back to the card itself. Yeah, I mean that's easy for me. Like I think it's gem mint. As much as you want to harp on the min gem being like a horrible, it's easy for me that I can't believe with the PSA 9 is worth more than the
same
min gem.
Couple hundred more, but pretty much the same.
I think that's wild. Yeah, the 9.5 is easy.
Yep. I thought, I could get you with the PSA slabs because you guys are PSA fanboys.
Those are the old slabs. Those are the ugly slabs.
I couldn't even say that with a straight face, but
PSA fanboys.
But we dogged BGS earlier in the show, so I thought we just ended. I'm gonna make up for it by making this a BGS 9.5 sweep. I love BGS. I love you guys. Just be a little bit more creative in your marketing, and you'll go a long way. All right. Yeah, thanks again for listening to our show. We appreciate you guys, and if you haven't rated our show and you enjoyed this episode, we absolutely appreciate you giving us 5 stars. And we'll have a brand new episode for you next week. See you then. Bye. Hey, thanks for listening to Cards to the Moon. We'd really appreciate you subscribing to our podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts. And you can also connect with each of us on Instagram at 5cardguys, or you can follow Hyung at Integrity Sports Cards, or John at TradeU at Recess. You can also check us out at 5cardguys.com. Thanks again, and hope to connect soon.